Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Hello there, and a warm welcome to our highlights of the week. And before getting started, let's have a quick peek at what made the cut this time around. Fair trade. Tanja Kaiser pulls in the crowds at Munich's Oktoberfest. Food art. Norway's Ida Skivenes and her breakfast creations. Career moves. Evelyn Hall is a multifaceted model from Hamburg. Well, it's Germany's most famous beer festival, and it draws a crowd like no other. That's the Oktoberfest in Munich, on now. And when you're not living it up inside the tents with a stein of beer and a good plate of Wurst, it's highly recommended to save a bit of energy for some of the activities on the side, like, for instance, taking one of the many stomach-churning rides. And Tanja Kaiser certainly knows how to make them appealing.
The Oktoberfest is not for the faint-hearted. What could be more fun after a few litres of beer than a go on a fairground ride? Some are easier to stomach than others. Ride operator Tanja Kaiser takes to the mic to drum up business.
Tschüss. Alles klar an Bord, no problemo, alles paletti, ready for take-off.
She learned how to be an MC from her father.
This is not for everyone. Some see the mic and say, great, I can do that. Others just freeze. You have to have a bit of courage to do it.
She took over the carousel from her parents 15 years ago. The 40-year-old has 4 employees, but she has the full responsibility for the business. She enjoys the hard work.
My father never wanted me to help setting up and taking down the ride. He always said, you're a girl. But I always wanted to do everything, and it's the same today. You have to be presentable as a woman. But I don't have a problem wearing the trousers, or the gloves in this case.
Her mother also played a big role. They don't see each other often at the moment. Sylvia is still in the business and also has a ride at the Oktoberfest. She's never gone on the ride herself. She doesn't have the courage. Sometimes she's shocked when she sees some of those who do.
I said to one woman, do you mind if I ask you how old you are? 85. Well, you're brave, I said. And she said, yes, I used to be a skydiver.
Sylvia Kaiser is a trained hairdresser. But when she met her future husband, she knew that she would join him with his ride at fairgrounds around Europe. The Kaiser family has been in the business for generations. 200 years ago, they were fairground jesters. Then they started a circus and had a horse show. Women have always played a big part in the business, like Siegfried Kaiser's grandmother, Magdalena.
There were 12 siblings, 6 guys and 6 girls. All of the men went to fight in the war. My grandmother was alone with the girls and 130 animals, and she did a great job.
The family has always been there for each other amidst the fierce competition. The Oktoberfest's 6 million visitors make it the most important fair of the season. Tanja Kaiser goes from fairground to fairground 300 days a year. She lives in a mobile home. It was designed specially to suit the needs of her family. It has a living room, a kitchen, a granite floor, and a shower. Her son's bedroom is not the only one with special ceiling lighting.
If you only have lights like this, it feels cold. That's why I got these chandeliers. I love them.
Most of the people who live this life meet their partners at the fairgrounds. She first met her husband Jörg when he was dismantling his ride.
It was cold and I got a text message asking if I wanted a cup of tea. I thought that was really sweet and great of her.
Tanja isn't bothered if her son follows in their footsteps, but Jörg Jr., or JJ, has already made up his mind.
I'm already in the business. I help set up the rides, and I sell tickets.
Tanja Kaiser also grew up on the fairground circuit. She can't imagine a better job.
It's great seeing how happy people are on your ride, and the kids laughing. Not just at the Oktoberfest, but at all the fairgrounds.
Tanja Kaiser is a fairground operator, entertainer, and a true Bavarian through and through.
Well, using food as a medium for art is an idea that's been around for quite a long time. But ever since the advent of social media, food art as a mode of expression has become highly democratized. People all over the globe have embraced the possibilities of online services like Twitter, Tumblr and Instagram to give their creativity free rein. And Ida Skivenes of Norway is one of them. But her Art on Toast project is much more than just beautiful breakfasts.
People often say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. For Ida Skivenes of Norway, this holds true in more than one way. Breakfast has changed her life. Her early morning artistic creations are proving a hit on the internet.
This was more of a coincidence that I started to do this, and the time I had was before I went to work in the mornings, and I love breakfast. So it just happened that that was the opportunity that I had to create something else.
Ida studied sociology and most recently worked for Norway's Central Statistics Office. She lets her imagination run wild on her breakfast plate.
So it's both the fascination with sort of food in itself, what other people are eating, and also the unexpectedness of it all, that it's sort of not what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to play with your food, but I'm saying otherwise.
The artist photographs her breakfast each morning and uploads the images using the photo platform Instagram. Ida Skivenes, alias Ida Frosk, rapidly became popular. More than 150,000 users now follow the series to see what Ida's breakfast looks like. But she's not alone. From the Malaysian artist Hong Yi to the American housewife Samantha Lee, food art is all the rage on online platforms.
That's the main advantage of doing Instagram, is that you get instant feedback on what you do. I've also started a blog because I wanted to, in some cases, write more, both about my inspiration and also provide some recipes, both to make food art, but also just good breakfast.
Ida Skivenes uses no food coloring in her work. She places great importance on using the best quality products, and usually eats the dishes herself. Ida gathers inspiration in the museums in her home city, Oslo. She's especially fond of the works of Edvard Munch and often reproduces them in her series Art on Toast.
That way I get to spread both my love for food and my love for art by making somewhat surprising versions of famous artworks and showing the possibilities that food ingredients really have.
And this is what it looks like. Great works of art on toast. Her collection already includes 23 plates and is far from completed. Ida's online success quickly led to job offers. She now has 5 newspaper columns in Norway, Denmark, and Germany.
Hello.
A Norwegian publisher suggested a joint book project.
The good thing with Ida's project is that she's not snobbish. It's very simple. Everybody can do it, and it's low key. And the most important thing is it should be fun, not perfect.
Ida's book has already appeared in Norwegian and is due for release in English on October 15th. Ida Skivenes has begun giving workshops. Queries come to her from all over the world. She has quit her day job and is now self-employed.
I'm going to be doing food art full-time for a year or so at least, and then we'll just see what happens after that. I'm just taking it a day by day, really. This was not something I expected to happen, so it's just going with the flow.
But she's already acquired quite a taste for success.
Well, the House of Romanov was the second and the last imperial dynasty to rule over Russia. Now, Russian rulers were known as Tsars, which is a word that derived from the Latin word Caesar and means emperor. Well, the Romanov rule began in 1613, 400 years ago, with the crowning of Mikhail Romanov in Kostroma, north of Moscow, and ended when Tsar Nicholas II was forced to abdicate in 1917. So for the 400th anniversary, we took in an exhibition of Romanov treasures that led us back to their origin.
Tsar Nicholas II gave this beautiful egg to his consort 100 years ago to mark the 300th anniversary of the Romanov dynasty. The Fabergé egg is part of the Romanov hoard, the treasures and symbols of a family that made Russia great and influenced European history for centuries. Paul Edward Kulikovsky is a descendant of the dynasty.
Oh, I feel a lot of pride. I'm very happy to see this. It's amazing to see all these beautiful artifacts. Not only are they beautiful in the sense of artwork, but also the spirituality of these items, the emotion that they give me. And of course, they're related to my family. So for me, it's also family history. So for me, it's a great joy just to walk through here.
Moscow, the city where the Tsars were crowned. But the Romanovs' history started in Kostroma, several hundred kilometers north. Yevgeny Kulagin organizes a festival every year. Here he's recounting the story for some Swiss visitors. It was in the Ipatiev monastery that Mikhail Fyodorovich was elected as the first Romanov Tsar. At the time, Russia was being torn apart by civil war and foreign invaders. The Romanovs used cunning, skill and brute force to make Russia stable and powerful. That ascent began in Kostroma.
You get a good sense of how much happened here.
You can feel this long family history, this long dynasty. And that a lot of important decisions were made here.
Kostroma thrived as the young Russian Empire expanded. The city became one of its most important centers of commercial and cultural activity. But Kostroma is not just about the past. Yevgeny Kulagin and a team of friends set up an art project called Stantizya, meaning station, in a former factory. Once a year, he invites artists from across Europe to take part in a dance festival.
Catherine the Great and Peter the Great and the other Romanovs always had an open European view of everything new and progressive. And modern art is always progressive. I think the Tsars would have liked what we're doing here.
Today, the heritage of the Tsars plays only a minor role in Kostroma. And Moscow is paying a little attention to the Romanov anniversary. But the treasures of the Kremlin speak for themselves.
There's still a lot of important artifacts in the Diamond Fund, which of course is also in the Moscow Kremlin, but they are not really part of this exhibition. So actually there is a fourth place here in the Moscow Kremlin that you have to go to, even though it's not officially part of the exhibition. It would have been nice to see all the crowns just lying next to each other so you could see them sort of in a quick sequence.
But Paul Edward Kulikovsky is just happy that so many Tsar's treasures survived the Russian Revolution and the Soviet era. They'll remain on display at the Kremlin until the end of January.
Well, she's a sought-after model at the age of 68, with not a stitch of Botox and a wild mane of natural grey hair. But Evelyn Hall is so much more than just a pretty face. Modelling is, in fact, her fourth career after being a professional dancer, a showgirl and an actress. And her life has had so many interesting chapters in it that she decided to write an autobiography. And we caught up with her for its recent release right here in the capital.
Evelyn Hall is 68 years old and highly sought after as a model. For 3 years now, she's been strutting her stuff for photographers and designers.
I got into modelling through Ted Lino, who's got a modelling agency, the biggest one in Germany, I believe. He'd known me for a while, and he said he was doing a show and asked if I'd like to take part. And I walked down the catwalk, and it really took off in the truest sense of the term. Nobody was expecting it, least of all me. And then offers from good photographers started coming in. And all of a sudden, I became a model.
Evelyn Hall trained as a ballerina, and she still has the grace and figure of a much younger woman. And with her slender figure, she can hold her own with the young models. But her age shows in her face, and she wears it with pride.
I just can't imagine how an anti-wrinkle cream could ever work. I don't care what brand it is, it's just not doable. If it were, people who have money would never have wrinkles. And I just don't see why any kind of medicinal means should give us something, or give us something back, that we simply don't have anymore.
Evelyn Hall recently presented her autobiography in Berlin. In the book, she talks about her stage fright before her first appearance on stage at the Berlin Fashion Week.
Once I realized how bombastic the style night would be, I really panicked. I thought, maybe I'd overreached myself. All around me I saw only young girls and I just didn't fit in. Then I walked out onto the catwalk and straight towards the photographers. The next morning, I went for a walk with a co-worker, and there it was, bigger than life in all the papers. Evelyn Hall on the catwalk at 65. How does she do it?
Her courage made a deep impression on the audience.
Evelyn is really great. She's an incredibly interesting woman, especially at her age, that she's doing so many new things.
I really admire Evelyn Hall. She's such an inspiration to young people. She shows how you can grow older without losing your courage in life.
I think older models like Evelyn Hall are much more credible. It's interesting that I feel more of a connection with her than I would with a 16-year-old model.
Evelyn Hall lives in Hamburg. That's where, as a young girl, she developed a passion for dancing. She started training as a ballerina at the Hamburg State Opera and danced major roles in Swan Lake. At age 26, she decided to try a stint as a showgirl in Las Vegas. There, in the early 70s, she rubbed shoulders with stars like Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand, and Elvis Presley.
I especially remember Elvis. He was a very gentle guy, very introverted, and not even close to the person you saw on stage. That person was a volcano, an animal on the stage. And afterwards, you'd sit together with him, and he'd be completely normal.
After all her years of stage experience, Evelyn Hall had no difficulties with modeling. She loves playing to the camera. Her younger colleagues look up to her as a role model.
The younger models ask how I do this or that, and think maybe they can make it too when they're as old as I am. That's what these young people want to learn from me, how to do it.
Evelyn Hall's motto is have courage and take on challenges. And one day, she hopes she'll be asked to model for Vivienne Westwood.
Well, foodies have smelled it coming for some time now as the grassroots food revolution that's already swept the UK comes to Germany. And that means move over posh Michelin stars and make some room for meals on wheels that are something akin to traveling with your taste buds. Street food, much like you'd find in Asia, Africa, or even the Caribbean, has expanded the good old-fashioned fish and chip stand to include the banh mi stall, the roti cart, and the tortilla truck. And that's to name just a few. And Berlin is buying into this for all the right reasons.
This is the Neuen Market Hall in Berlin's Kreuzberg district. There's a street food market here every Thursday, featuring cuisine from around the world. You're encouraged to eat standing up, and it's fine to eat with your fingers.
We want to try a lot of different foods and meet a lot of different people, the people who've created these dishes. We also want to offer food that's affordable. You can walk around, try different kinds of food, and learn about different cultures.
For example, kimchi quesadillas and Korean beef tacos. Prepared by Lauren Lee. She's Korean-American, and after living in Los Angeles, has brought her unique blend of Korean and Mexican cuisine to Berlin.
What's special about the street food market here is that we're mostly small producers here that all love the things we're making, and we really take the time and the effort to really make a nice product.
Street food markets are common in parts of Asia and Africa. The market at Forodhani Gardens on the island of Zanzibar, for example, features local specialties like grilled seafood. Late-night food emporiums like these are popular in China and Taiwan. Meals on wheels have become quite popular in the US. Until recently, most of the food sold from vans like these was unadventurous. But now many vendors are offering gourmet items that feature wholesome, top-quality ingredients. These days, people are paying closer attention to what they eat.
People are choosing quality over quantity, and they want to know where the food comes from, how it's produced, how the farm animals are raised, and whether the vegetables are grown organically.
Food trucks are increasingly turning up in big cities in Germany. American Billy Davis used to operate a taco truck in his home state of Texas. Now, he's doing it in Berlin. But the authorities still haven't given him a license for sales on public streets.
There hasn't been any history of that. Yeah, so it seems very foreign and new and maybe difficult for them to accept.
The Heisse Hobel turns up every week at the street food market in Berlin's Kreuzberg district. It features freshly prepared cheese specialties from Germany's Allgäu region. Lots of people come to the market to try something new. Others are just looking for a little piece of home.
I've never seen this food before. It's the first time I eat this food.
These are pierogi from Poland. It was my mom's favorite dish. She made them all the time, from a recipe our family had used for generations. I just wanted to try one.
Chili beef pie from New Zealand. Never seen it before, but it tastes great.
Some experts say that street food in Germany may soon offer some serious competition to sit-down restaurants.
That could certainly happen. Street food restaurants provide a more diverse selection of food items, a wide selection of cuisines from a number of different countries, and they do it at a price that restaurants just can't match.
Street food is also a way for young chefs like Lauren Lee to make a statement. You can serve first-rate cuisine on a paper plate, just like they do now here in Berlin.
Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of our Euromaxx highlights. We hope you enjoyed them. And don't forget that you can catch up with any missed episodes on our website. Just go to dw.de/English/Euromaxx. And with that, it is time for us to sign off. So until we meet again, all the best from Berlin and bye-bye.